Hello and welcome. My name's Rose Smith from Absolute Soul Secrets. I'm talking today about the massive changes we're going through in 2020 due to the incredible 8 planetary retrogrades and 6 eclipses. This doesn't normally happen because we don't normally get 6 eclipses in 1 year. Usually it's only around 4. And also we don't normally get 8 planets going retrograde because Venus and Mars don't go retrograde every single year. When you put all of this together, it just shows you how much transformation is about this year. So I thought I had this idea, I'd put it into a graphic so you could actually see what I was talking about. So let's go to the graphic now and you'll see what I mean. And you'll see here in the middle of the graphic that there is a lot happening in May, June and July. Now this is just the planetary retrogrades. There's actually a lot more happening than this because we also have the asteroids going retrograde, which I haven't included in this, but I will do another video about the most important asteroids, particularly Chiron. Now the first retrograde you'll see at the top there is Mercury. When Mercury goes retrograde, as it normally does 3 times a year, it really plays havoc with our technology. There's a lot of miscommunications. If you're doing anything where you have to be clear in communications, it can get mucked up, particularly in things like contracts. And generally it's just a little bit of chaos happening, you see. So you can see there that we've already been through the first one, which is on the 18th of February to 9th of March. But coming up next month in June, on the 17th of June until the 12th of July, Mercury is going retrograde in Cancer. So Cancer's a very sort of emotional sign, and so you could feel yourself feeling rather frustrated if communications get, mucked up or there's misunderstandings as emotions run high. You might get the wrong end of the stick or misinterpret a situation, and that's quite common. Okay, so do be a little bit careful then in case arguments blow up. You'll see on the 13th of October to the 3rd of November, Mercury is going retrograde in Libra. Thanks very much. That's my sign. Secrets can be exposed and things just come up. So do remember to be careful what you say because loose lips sink ships. And it actually starts in Scorpio and it ends in Libra. And so that's where the secrets being exposed comes in from the Scorpio. So because Scorpio is really big on secrets and it's also a pretty sexy sign, so sex and relationships could feature during this time, and an ex might come back, so be on the lookout. And as I always say, if they are an ex, just remember why. Mercury retrograde finishes in Libra, and Libra loves love, so it's a possibility there that you could get back together. But as with all retrogrades, when the planet turns direct, the situation can change suddenly. And so if you did get back with an ex, you may not stay together necessarily for a very long time. But the ball's in your court, so of course it's always up to you, your life, your responsibility. Do be aware of reoccurring patterns in relationships. So there's a whole lot of air and water going on during Mercury retrograde in 2020. So because they're opposites, it could be that there's a bit of a ding-dong battle between these opposites. Now, the next one I'm going to talk about is Venus going retrograde. And Venus is a planet of love. And so a retrograde, of course planets don't actually go backwards, but it looks like from our standpoint here on Earth that there's a possibility that again an old ex could come back. It's really important during a retrograde to reassess, reflect and review your relationships. And because Venus rules money, also your money situation, okay? So, ask yourself what you want in a relationship. Do you want a relationship built on equality, for example? And you might find that Venus retrograde is, sort of encouraging you to grow up and not be so dependent in a relationship, because, it's sort of like Venus wants you to be in a relationship, but of course you need to be in the right relationship so that you can have an adult relationship rather than being, dependent like a child. Really Venus wants you to be independent, okay? And with the finances, yes, review your finances. And even if you don't have any financial issues at all, it's still a great time to tweak things. That's what retrogrades are all about, tweaking, your direction in life. So reviewing, reflecting, thinking about it, and you then making any tweaks that need to be made. Then the next one, Mars, you'll see 9th of September through to the 14th of October. Mars is a planet of motivation, energy, activity, aggression, and ambition. And, he changes signs every 6 weeks or so, and he has a retrograde about every 26 months or so. So you can see there September to October. But when he's retrograde, he can sort of make you feel flat or unmotivated, like you don't have any energy. Sexual desire may decrease. You might not feel like starting a project, but if you do start a project, then there could be sort of hindrances and obstacles with that project. It's a great time for thinking about a project and maybe getting your thoughts down on paper and that sort of thing. But when you physically go to do it, it might not go smoothly. You could also be feeling very frustrated and angry when things, if things don't work out. So you need, to do some sort of physical activity perhaps, because Mars likes physical activity, to get your frustrations out in an appropriate way. And so when he is retrograde and we are feeling flat, you could be missing the energetic feelings that you normally get, and feel a little bit restless. So it's a great time to delay your important decisions. Now, the next one I want to go to is Jupiter, and you'll see that Jupiter is retrograde the 13th of May to the 14th of September. I must also say there are shadow periods either side of these dates. So when a planet is going on or coming off a retrograde, there's also some time before and some time after. And it depends on the planet, but for Mercury, for example, some people say it's even up to 2 weeks in the shadow period. And while it's in shadow period, then the retrograde is still affecting you in some way. Okay, so Jupiter retrograde in Capricorn, what that basically means is Capricorn likes things to be practical and down to earth. And Jupiter is normally a sort of planet of expansion and growth. But again, there could be delays around this, and especially in work and finances. So it's a great time to do a budget to work out how you're going to, spend your money and things like that. But it could, the spending of money or the saving of money could go into reverse gear at this time. And you might find that the growth and expansion you were looking for, it's very hard to find. However, on the positive side, there's a couple of positives here. It's a great time if you have any sort of addictive habits or negative behaviours. It's a great time to overcome them. Really look into them, and you might be able to finally make steps in overcoming things like if you're a compulsive eater, for example. So you could lose some weight when Jupiter is retrograde. or you might even feel like a general feeling of constriction or contraction, and maybe not as ambitious, as you normally are. And again, opportunities can be hindered. But if you want to eliminate hindrances that have stood in the way of your success in the past, this is a great time to do it. So it's not all negative with Jupiter retrograde. Those most affected are large animals, including agricultural animals such as cattle. People who speculate, such as stock traders and gamblers. People who are involved in organised religion, including members of the clergy and their congregations, and people involved in the travel industry. The most affected zodiac signs are Sagittarius, Capricorn, and Pisces. Okay, so looking at the next one now, which is Saturn, from the 11th of May to the 29th of September. It starts in Aquarius and finishes in Capricorn. Saturn likes us to be very structured, responsible and organised. And if you're not on the ball, he can be stern and authoritarian. He doesn't like shoddy work. So early in the retrograde, when he's in Aquarius, he's sort of bringing our hopes and dreams into focus by looking at the big picture. And then as he proceeds into Capricorn, it's like bringing that big picture down to earth. Again, there could be a delay or a hindrance in this. It's like your career or work could slow down, and even time, because Saturn is associated with Kronos, the god of time. You might find time slowing down, you lose track of time, perhaps you miss appointments and things like that, or there's some sort of muck up. And particularly when Mercury is retrograde there from the 17th of June to the 12th of July, that's sort of like a double sort of dose. People that are affected, elderly people, people who work in the employment industry, those economically disadvantaged, people who work in natural resources such as agriculture are also linked to Saturn, and those areas could be very strongly affected. So it's best to be, during this time, very cautious and responsible. Keep everything on the straight and narrow. Don't take risks at this time because, again, it might seem like your plans go backwards or get stuck in some way. It's a good time to be patient and determined. You will move forward again. Just don't push it. Saturn is related to karma and time, so you'll probably find a lot of weirdness going on with these two things. People from the past, from karmic with karmic debts, can come back. If you've been meticulous and you've been responsible, you might find that karma smiles on you. Excuse me, giving you a substantial karmic gift. Okay. It can also, Saturn retrograde can also manifest as sadness, tiredness, feeling unmotivated and stuck. But keep going, persevere, don't give up. And other people very much affected are those dealing with governments, large corporations, legal authorities, banks, authority figures in general, fatherhood figures, and the signs of Capricorn and Aquarius are the most impacted of all signs. Okay, so the next one we're going to talk about is Uranus from the 11th of August 2019 until the 10th of January. Okay, so this one's done and dusted, so I won't talk a lot about it because it's over for the moment. But it was in the earthy sign of Taurus. Okay, so it gives you both excitement and turbulence. Uranus gives you sort of like a push towards freedom, and you could have been feeling rather restricted, and so there's a bit of a internal conflict about trying to break free and do your own thing. You might have wanted to end a relationship or a job or relocate. Uranus brings up issues. It's a transpersonal planet, so you might have found past lives coming up. And those people most affected would have been inventors, those in science, electricity, earth science and technologies, people with rebellious tendencies, spiritual people, and societies that were ready for revolution, such as USA, UK, Mexico, Russia, Turkey, and a whole host of other countries. Okay, it can also be associated with Earth changes. Of course, it'll be back next year, 2021. The signs most impacted are Taurus and Aquarius. So let's now go to the next one, which is Neptune. And that's from the 23rd of June to the 28th of November. So starting next month in Taurus. Pisces, not Taurus. Pisces. So Pisces, Neptune in Pisces, that's the home of Neptune. It's a very spiritual sort of energy, but not only spiritual, sometimes people can be deluded with this thing, and you might feel like you're losing your boundaries, you might be feeling foggy, it's difficult to make decisions, you're unsure of your direction, which way to go, and it's just hard to know what is true. And of course there is so much misinformation on social media at the moment, it's hard to know what to believe, because this is, real uptick in misinformation and disinformation. And with this starting next month, that's going to make things even more blurry. It's like you're walking in a fog and, are you on the right path? That type of feeling. So you could be feeling different, somewhat different, and you might feel like your boundaries of who you actually are dissolving between you and other people, so that you don't know where you start and where you end, especially in relationships. Okay, old spiritual wounds can come up from the past, which need to be understood and healed. And there can be painful feelings also coming up from not only this life, but past incarnations. You may become aware of your past lives, more than ever. And things that happen in those past lives could be affecting your self-esteem and your confidence. With this, there's also, a bit of a vibe for some people of being victimised or persecuted in some way. So it is a good idea to write all your feelings down and do some personal rituals to release those things from the past that you no longer need to carry. Neptune's also associated with viruses and ill health, so please do take care about that, especially with COVID-19. Look after yourself, practice social distancing, wash your hands, stay home as much as you possibly can, regardless of what your government says. Even if they open all the shops and it's business as usual, please take care under this influence. It's a great time for taking warm baths, having massages, spending time in silent contemplation. Okay, it's a time for being rather than doing. Often we think we've got to do everything all the time, we've got to think all the time. And, we don't spend enough time just being who we are. It's a great time for spiritual development, so really get into that. Your psychic abilities could become stronger, especially the clairs, such as clairvoyance, which is clear sight, clairaudience, clear hearing, and clairsentience, which is clear feeling. At all times, rely on your intuition, especially if it's difficult to think. Now, the people that are most affected are those people in the self-help and development areas, such as psychics, healers, coaches, those sort of people trying to help people. People working with chemicals, artists and musicians, people that are involved heavily with water and aquatic animals, and societies who rely on the oceans, such as islands and fishing communities. The zodiac sign most impacted is Pisces. Okay, so now looking at Pluto. Pluto has already gone retrograde from the 25th of April to the 4th of October in Capricorn. Okay, so see there in the middle, there's so much happening in Capricorn with Jupiter, Saturn and Pluto all retrograde May, June, July. So as I was saying before, Capricorn's very earthy and wants to bring things down to earth and make it real. And Capricorn is also involved with governments. So we can expect from now on, from May, June, July, that there's going to be lots of things coming up about government. It's also, other authority figures as well, including large corporations and banks. Pluto rules over profound transformation, death and rebirth. Now, if you think in numerology where, it's all about numbers of cycles, so 9 is the end of a cycle, 0 is a place of limbo and waiting, usually occurs after you die, and then the number 1 restarts a new cycle. Pluto is also associated with the Phoenix rising, so you go through a very difficult time, and there's a death of sorts. So not that you necessarily physically die, but something inside you passes so that something new can begin. The Phoenix rises again from the ashes and we are born again. Karma and fate are also key themes. Pluto can bring up and especially Pluto retrograde can bring up fears around death or a situation which is a great transition like death, and these become more prevalent and more real. There's, as I was just alluding to, there's different types of death. There's the death of a relationship, the death of a career. Our children grow up and leave home, and then we could be feeling alone, isolated. And we might even be thinking about our own death, particularly if someone we know has recently passed. So death and transformation are no longer abstract concepts. They're very real and they touch us in some way. And with the number of COVID-19 deaths increasing dramatically in some countries, luckily not where I am, here in Australia, and the same in New Zealand, but in many European countries and also the US, the death rates are horrific. And this is only going to increase. Your governments are not always telling you the truth about the numbers. The numbers are underreported. They are not over-reported. And I won't get into all the why-fors and whatever about that. The reasons I say that, just that's another video just in itself. But my point is that death is going to become more commonplace with Pluto retrograde, okay? And we'll be thinking a lot about this themes of control, abuse, manipulation, obsession and compulsive behaviour and addictions will also become more prevalent. We suffer, we grieve, we transition to other realms and realities, okay? Spiritual wounds may come up that need to be healed and released, all of that trapped energy from the past. Again, not only from this life, but from past lives. And this sort of causes us to come face to face with our own mortality, okay? We begin to get the inklings of past incarnations where our strong beliefs and emotions were carried over to this lifetime. So it could be a time of extreme emotions, including bringing up fears we can't explain or express, okay? But again, as I mentioned before, all planetary retrogrades give us the opportunity to review, reflect and reassess different areas of our lives. So we can learn to accept the reality of Pluto retrograde, life, death and rebirth. I know it's not easy. Those people most affected are spiritual people such as psychics, healers and those interested in self-help and development. people working with ecology and the earth, those working in espionage or investigations of suicide and homicides, people involved with death, such as mortuary attendants, funeral directors and coroners, and also people involved with nuclear power or plutonium. The zodiac sign most affected by Pluto retrograde is Scorpio. Okay, then we come to the eclipses, and you'll see all those eclipses down the bottom there, the 6 eclipses. And in this 3-month period, well, not so much May, but June and July, so next month in July, we have 3 eclipses, 2 lunar eclipses in Sagittarius and Virgo, and also a solar eclipse on the 21st of the 6th in Cancer. So the Sagittarian lunar eclipse is on the 5th of June, and in July the Virgoan lunar eclipse is on the 5th of July. Okay, so you can see that period of the next 3 months, how very busy it is, and this does not even count the asteroids. And so I will do another video about the main asteroids that affect us, such as Chiron, Vesta, Ceres, and because there's just so much going on, so much to process this year, it's unbelievable. And 6 eclipses doesn't happen all the time. It's every 4 or 5 years that happens. The solar eclipses represent the male aspects, while the lunar eclipses represent the feminine aspects. Eclipses force us to confront our own shadow nature, the dark side of our personal subconscious. They're also a sign from the universe that change will visit us soon on the earth plane, and sometimes it's unpredictable and unexpected change. So when I'm talking about the earth plane, I'm talking about manifestation in a physical form, okay? Sometimes the change doesn't happen on the exact date of the eclipse. It can be weeks or months before or after an eclipse. So you can see with 6 eclipses, we're just getting over one and then there's more. And so it's just a continual cycle of dealing with eclipses, just in that sense. But this is all happening to, cause us to evolve and to transform. And so eclipses can often bring very big life-changing events. The solar eclipses are often about action, doing things in the physical world, while the lunar eclipses are more about personal experiences, okay? The power of the solar eclipses can last longer than lunar eclipses, but it doesn't make lunar eclipses less potent, okay? They can be even more potent than solar eclipses, okay? So you can see what I'm talking about here. With so much going on. Now, I'll just give you a really quick rundown of these 3 in the middle. The one on the 5th of June, the full strawberry or honeymoon lunar eclipse, and it's likely to really bring up a lot of sort of fiery energy, and also there could be some arguments happening. So do be careful. That's particularly likely if you're in the Pacific Ocean, say New Zealand, some islands there, Australia, for example, because we can actually view that eclipse here. So I often think when you can see it, it's more potent in some way, but it does affect everyone around the world. On the 21st of June, the eclipse in Cancer, the moon actually rules Cancer, so it's likely to be a very emotional time. And so self-expression of feelings is likely to be very important at this time. And there might be a lot of inner reflection and contemplation going on, and spirituality becomes more important. This eclipse is viewable from parts of Africa, Europe, the Middle East, Asia, and the very top of northern Australia, okay? Then that eclipse on the 5th of July, which is known as a full buck or thunder moon lunar eclipse, which is likely to bring up a lot of issues around making things real, change, transformation. Try to go with the flow rather than maintaining the status quo. Okay, you might be thinking a lot about things, and sometimes your thinking can get in the way and actually slow down the process. So just go with the flow, and you'll be able to manage. This is visible also from Australia, New Zealand, northern USA, Canada, northern East Africa, UK, Europe, and Asia. Okay, so as you can see, wow, so much happening. But, take a deep breath. Don't try to process everything all in one go, and, you've just got to sort of put one foot in front of the other at the moment and stay calm. Stay home as much as you can, and stay well. Thanks so much for watching. As I said before, I will do another video about the asteroids, and I'll also do a tarot reading on these retrogrades, because we need all the help we can get. I want to see what the cards actually have to say about these retrogrades coming up. Have a wonderful month and an insightful month. Thanks so much for watching. Please give this video a like, leave me a comment. I will answer your comments. I love to read what's happening in your life, and let me know how, if you can relate to what I'm saying. Okay, that would be great. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell. Okay, thank you again, and bye for now. Thanks so much for watching. Please visit my website absolutesoulsecrets.com for all things spiritual. Have a lovely day.